If you walk into Gorgon with the wrong perks, you're not a DPS, you're a wet noodle cosplaying as a sword in 2025. Whether you're running Hive of Gorgons, pushing Mutated Dungeons, diving headfirst into Wyrm, or sprinkling a little PvP for spice, your gear will make or break you, and most people, they're breaking. New World has over 100 gear perks. 90% of them are straight garbage, but the few ones that are good, they'll make you an unkillable god, pumping out damage while laughing off boss mechanics like it's story mode. So here's the plan. I'm going to show you a clean, simple build system that works for 90% of PvE and a bit of PvP builds. We're talking the artifacts that carry every role, the best in slot perks you cannot mess up without dooming your team, the gems and named items that will survive every meta shift, and along the way I'll show you why each choice matters, because understanding your gear and what keeps you alive when everyone else is face down on the floor blaming the healer. So if you don't want to be the reason your group wipes, or you don't want Amazon nerfing your build, next patch, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll make sure it doesn't happen. Alright, let's start with the most meta defining piece of gear you can get in New World, your armor artifact. For the vast majority of DPS players, you want this beautiful baby, the Attune leather pants. Now, where do you grab them? You need to do the main story quest. Yes, I know questing is hard, and I know sometimes it's a little mundane. But that's okay, because at the end of it all, your suffering will be rewarded with the Attune leather pants. This gives you plus 11 attributes to all, so you'll be hitting like a freight train while having great survivability on top. Most of the time, people won't even let you in to dungeons or raids if you're not running this. So you might want to make sure you pick this up as fast as possible. The only role that doesn't use this is tanks. Now, what does a tank use? A tank, I got you covered. Void Darkplate is the name of the game for you. If you're tanking, what's your go-to artifact? Let me know if you rock Void Darkplate or something else. You grab this in Cutlass Keys during the BB mutation. So hopefully next week it'll be online so you can grab the armor artifact you'll be looking for. Now, what do we pair with these bad boys in terms of perks? Well, there's a perk that rules them all, Enchanted Ward. 4% damage from light and heavy attacks are reduced. This is massive for your overall survivability. Not only in PvE but PvP, this is the best in slot perk for both roles. So getting this as soon as possible should be your #1 priority. Don't sleep on this perk, seriously. What perk do you think is the biggest game changer? Vote below. Now, the reason why that is because the vast majority of things in New World are coded to do light and heavies. Next up, health for DPS and healers so you don't get one shot by annoying mechanics. And refreshing reduces the cooldowns by 4% per stack. Stack this all with the 4% to make sure you are gaining maximum DPS, maximum uptime on taunts, and maximum uptime on heals. You want to be min-maxing as best as possible. These are the perks you want to be aiming for generally PvE. For PvP, another great perk is Shirking Heals. Dodging an attack heals you for a bunch of health. It only can be triggered every 7 seconds. This is a very good perk for light and medium builds in PvP. Now, let's head over to jewelry. For jewelry, we'll start with the wood grain earring, my personal favorite. Fortifying Toast, who doesn't love to be a bit tankier when they're consuming Mountain Dew? Refreshing Toast and regenerating, who doesn't love free potions and some free HP? I love a bargain, so that's why I always go to Dollarama. This is a must-have for the medium, heavy builds, and even light builds can use this pretty well. Where do you grab this bad boy? Come over here to Eden Grove, and there'll be a guy over here standing menacingly. He'll look like he's on the roids, but don't worry, he hits like a wet noodle, just like you are right now. How about our ring? For the ring, Hardy is the most important to grab, as it turns us into a roly-poly-oly. You'll see on the bottom of my screen here, I have 110 stamina. When I roll 3 times, it gives me extra survivability. With only 2 rolls, you could quickly become a floor tank, and I don't want to see you become that, so make sure you grab Hardy. Next up, your damage. Slash damage for SNS, Rapier Thrust. Make sure you have the correct perks for depending on your weapon type. The healing one for Life Staff is a must. Leeching is also nice for DPS as it gives them a bit of survivability and really strong for tanks. So players, you better listen up because this one's for you guys. And I'm one of you, so don't worry. I got your back. How about artifacts for jewelry while we're here? Blood Drinker turns you into Dracula himself. You'll be sucking everyone dry until there's nothing left but bones and dust among their corpse. This gives you so much survivability, you never even need a healer when you're out soloing in the world. You can even solo dungeons with this bad boy if you're good enough. Where do I grab this? You may be wondering. Starstone barrels right here. Must have, very important to grab. Amulet. Life Ring Amulet, very strong. If you can farm this, I recommend it. Gives you Divines and Hells, which are the two most important perks for every single build in the entire game, in my opinion, for PvE. The third perk, I recommend getting a Protection perk. Not only for PvP, but for PvE, this is just generally really solid. For PvP, you generally want Thrust or Slash, but for PvE, you need pretty much all of them. You'll be collecting these protection amulets like Pokemon. Lock them as soon as you grab them, as you never know which one you might need. A quick rundown is most elemental ones are good for mutations. Strike, good for Wyrm and Gorgon. Open world, Slash. Now, our ultimate, the game changer. Where do we grab this bad boy? Well, to unlock the Heart Rune slot, come over here to Brimstone. There'll be a girl kneeling down, pat her on the head, do a couple of favors for her, and she'll give you the slot. Once you acquire the slot, Stone Room, very strong, gives you immunity to CC and gives you a bit of a heal. Great for survivability. Or you can grab Detonate, where you blow up like a little bomba. Where do I grab these two important Heart Runes? Come over here and need Heart Rune Detonate. Lazarus, Stoneform. These don't need to be mutated, by the way. So the second you grab your Heart Rune slot, you can go and farm these at level 60 and quickly grab them, as these Heart Runes can be a game changer to your build. Now, weapons. Since weapons are way too vast and there's too many things to talk about here, I'm just going to go over the important artifacts. For healers, you don't need one, and for tanks, you don't really need one either here. You just want to make sure you have the correct perks, much more important. For DPS though, you do need your artifacts to be good here. Crescent Wave is really good if you want to use Greatsword, plus you can grab this level 20 on the Season Pass. I have a guide if you don't know how to do that down below. Make sure to click that link and subscribe while you're at it. How about the more common one and the best DPS weapon in the entire game, the Finisher? Well, what you want to do is want to come over here to the Elysian Wilds. There'll be 3 mammoth children over here. Don't worry, CPS won't be called on you when you go and slaughter them, because there'll be no witnesses when the mother spawns and you take her out too. After that, you have a 1 in 5 chance to grab it. The max times you'll need to kill this person, and for anything in this entire game, is 5 times to grab a artifact. Once you have the Finisher, you're going to be doing more damage than everyone in the entire game that's not running the Finisher. That artifact is more busted than learning how to dodge. Now that we have artifacts, named items out of the way for right now, I'll give you more details later in the video, so stay tuned for that. Let's go over gems. Gems, defining your build in many different ways. Opals or diamonds are a must for DPS. Healers generally use diamonds, as there are also diamonds in game too. And healing, depending on your build, make sure to ask if you're confused. Somebody in chat will probably tell you, and that's a very quick response. For tanks, you need Carnelians, or you won't be doing much tanking. You'll be more of a just passenger along the journey, which is fine if you like being a criminal. Now, how about armor and jewelry gems? Well, if you're rich like Jeff Bezos, you can put rune glasses in here, but I don't want to be in a cardboard box sleeping under Windsward Bridge. I would much rather have a home in Windsward instead. So that's why I avoid rune glasses. But depending on the content you're doing, it is very important to be running the correct gems, and it will make or break your build. That guy that does more damage than you, or that guy that survives longer than you, but he just seems worse, well, it's probably because he's running better gems and gear. For gems, opals are really strong for mutated, but if you look at the mutated, so if we open up our activities here, we can open up mutated expeditions. Click in here, and this time it'll be Frost. So we want to take Frost Gems and our Frost Amulet. That will give us max damage reduction. We'll turn a light build into a tank on its own in the lower mutation. So that's very important to know. If you're doing Wyrm or Gorgon, Strike Protection is very strong. These come in Jaspers. I recommend grabbing these. Give you a bunch of extra survivability and a must-have. Well, for PvP, you may be asking. Just usually an Opal split. 6 opals, 2 onyxes work really well in my opinion. And if you like open world PvE content, then I would just recommend running all onyxes, as this gives you the most overall survivability. I would love to hear your guys' favorite gem layout down in the comments below. Maybe we'll see what is truly OP. Now that we know what's good, how do we go and upgrade all this stuff to make it even stronger? Travel to a city that has a gypsum kiln. That's why we're in Evans scale, baby. Run over here, the gypsum kiln, and you'll be able to upgrade all named and artifacts here of your choosing. You'll even able to get dungeon gear that hasn't yet dropped by collecting materia. This is why spamming the same dungeon until your eyes melt is sometimes a viable strategy. But let's just take an artifact for example. If I wanted to upgrade the Plague Herald Helm, I can do that the second I grab it. You don't need to complete the quests, but you'll need a golden cursed coconut, chromatic seals, dark matter, and generally the matrix armor, jewelry matrix, pretty self-explanatory. Make sure for artifacts that you are doing the coconut, or it will stay 700. This is a very important tip. I don't even know why this is in the game, but to terrorize newbies. Maybe Amazon are sick people, who really knows? But anyways, how do you get these important materials? Chromatic you can buy from your faction vendors. Golden cores can be farmed in the PvP zone. I always recommend, if you're going to do the PvP zone, coming here, running down like so, and coming into this zone. You can grab it from any crates inside there, and this is always the least populated zone in the PvP zone. So you don't have to worry about people generally killing you here. If you're more of a greedy goblin, going to the middle part is much more viable, but the odds of you running into fights are much higher, so do keep that in mind. Dark matter, acquired through Mutated Dungeons. Completing them on higher ranks such as gold and silver will net you more dark matter. I would also wait until you know the exact perk to put on your artifacts before you upgrade them, as you'll be wasting a lot of money and time. So make sure you do your research for these. As you can clearly see, there is an insane amount, perks to choose from. If you guys haven't already, make sure you join a faction. They can be found at any city, and the quests are around on the map. Covenant is, I'm not sure, Syndicate and Marauders, as I've already done those. But once you come to your Covenant faction vendor, make sure to open them up. You'll have to level them up. I know, right? Grinding in an MMO? Unthinkable. But once you level them up, you'll get access to very important things such as gypsum orbs here and the chromatic seals that I mentioned earlier. They cost 5 grand, so you'll need a bit of coin. So you better get out there and start farming. You can buy faction gear in here. Now, is this worth it? Depends what you can find on the market, as the market is generally better and cheaper. But this is a great starting point, as it is 675. You can also, once you buy faction gear, if you really want to, you can come up here to the top and use seals in the outfitting station. The gear does have to be unequipped, or you won't be able to do this, to make sure it goes towards a specific stat. I'll show you how to quickly look and grab some quickly good gear. So come here to filters, go to perks, and type in enchanted. Click enchanted, this one, not the one that increases your damage. This will then show up all the gear in the entire game. You can even sort by gear score range. So let's say we want a big gear score. Say 685 minimum. So now all the 685 gear will come up, and we can clearly and quickly look through all of this and see which perks are best for our build. This will take a bit of time, but sometimes you can find gold inside the trading posts for dirt cheap. So I highly recommend doing this at least once or twice before you go over and buying faction gear, as you never know what kind of goodies you can find on the market. Now that we know the 2 easiest way to get gear, let's talk about named items that are a must to farm. I recommend farming Glacial Tarn for Frigid Dawn. It's best in slot for PvP and best in slot for PvE tanks. This is insanely valuable. You want to grab this right now as it's mutated. Do not sleep on this. What is the reason? It comes with an illegal, don't worry, you won't go to jail or get banned, but the perk combination on this thing is technically illegal, as it comes with an Elemental Inversion and Enchanted Ward. These are arguably the best 2 perks in the entire game for PvP and Mutated Dungeons, so getting them both on the same piece of gear is generally too good to pass up, so I highly recommend grabbing Frigid Dawn, especially now that it's mutated. Well, if you're a range user, I recommend farming Syncratic. You can come over here to this part of the map, and Syncratic can be loaded all the way around. This is basically best in slot until you get Gorgon gear for stuff like musket, fire staff, bow. Make sure you come over here and farm this. Very good. These guys are easy and very soloable. If you guys want more artifacts to choose from, you can do some elite chest runs to get the Abyss here. Great for a fire staff int build if you're feeling frisky with it, as this thing does a lot of damage with the fire staff. Good in both PvE and PvP if you want to have some fun. The Abyss drops from boxes that you can acquire from completing major breaches in places like Murkguards that are 65 plus. It has to be the big boy one, not the little ones. Life Loop is very strong for DPS builds, as this allows you to heal when you drink a mana potions over the course of 4 seconds. Where do you grab this? This comes from in need, so when you need it, make sure you come over here and farm this. It's very important. A really good artifact for your earring once you finally have a build established. Endless Thirst is very good on many different builds. This gives you a lot of survivability, as this once again becomes an illegal perk combination where it has Empowering Toast and Fortifying Toast on there. Empowering Toast is best in slot for DPS builds. Not Fortifying Toast, that's best for tanks. Where do you get that amazing earring? Well, come over here to Elysian Wilds, and when this dungeon right here is mutated, Savage Divide, grab your cart, grab your shopping bag, because it's gonna be a fire sale, and you gotta make sure you pick that bad boy up as fast as possible. It will only take you a max of 5 runs for anything, by the way, in terms of artifacts, because there is a pity system, and don't worry, I have maxed out the pity system on pretty much all gear I need, because I am poor. If you also want a good way to get free gear that doesn't require much effort, and you just started, I recommend Xing up in chat, as people will be doing chest runs, like go on a world tour. You'll be doing stuff like over here in Eden Grove, the Elysian Wild chest run, and a bunch more. These have a chance when you open up an elite chest to give you very good starting gear as well if you want to save as much gold as possible until you can get into mutated dungeons and further your climb to the top. Now there is other very strong artifacts, but some of them are locked behind the PvP track. If you want to level up your PvP track as fast as possible, arenas are the way to go. They just give you the most XP for the amount of time it takes to complete them, and winning, yes, does give you double XP. I also recommend doing arenas simply due to the fact that it gives you this amazing formidable warrior cache that has a chance to contain 700 to 725 gear score. Now the last, and honestly probably even the best way to get gear is traveling over to Cutlass Keys, and we're gonna head over to the Wishing Well. Once we've entered Cutlass Keys, the Wishing Well, it will be right here on your map. You just want to come inside to the Well of Fortune. The Well of Fortune has many goodies that you can grab for relatively cheap. First, you'll have these super strong chests that require a coconut and 6 doubloons. 1500, that's a little too steep for my price range. I don't recommend getting this until you've already completed a very good set. Instead, I would hand over to the weapons here. These are very good to grab early on if you can't get any good weapons. Not too bad, 750. But you can come down here to these lower gear sets that have a chance to drop 750 doubloons. Now this is what I call a steal. So let me just buy one and show you. You can buy a crate for 250 doubloons. I'll tell you how to grab doubloons later in a very efficient way. Don't worry, I got your back, brothers. Open up your crate as so, and boom, we just got a medium chestware. Elemental Aversion Freedom, Nature Harnessing. Not the best, but it's very high gear score. A quick tip, and a very important tip, is when you open up any boxes in the entire game, it is always loot bias. What does that mean? That means if I'm wearing light footwear, I'm more likely to grab light foots. If I am light pants, it means when I open up a box, I'm more likely to get light pants. This is applied to everything in the entire game except named items, such as like a life ring amulet or these reconnaissance offer guards here. These do not apply to that rule. A good rule of thumb is if it's a named item or an artifact, it does not follow this rule, but everything else in the entire game will be loot bias. That's not only for your gear loadout, but your stats split as well. So whatever you have the most stats in, me is Dex, the gear will more than likely have Dex as its primary stat. Now how do I get these doubloons? Well, you want to open up your map, kind of Cutlass Keys, and you'll want to travel to this way shrine. You'll need a group for this, so make sure you X up in chat, and you'll just do a run through this whole zone. You'll net about 500 to 1,000 doubloons, which is huge, and if you're a scaredy cat and don't like the PvP zone, this is a great way to avoid doing it. You can get more doubloons by entering the PvP zone. That is scary. It's like a horror film in there. We don't want to enter that. Therefore, just farming around here is much safer and much more reliable. Plus, it gives just as much, pretty much. Is there anything else in the Wishing Well that you should be taking note of? If you want to make some extra gold, I recommend buying stuff like honing stones, dark matter here, just for easier dark matter gainage. Orbs here are very strong, as these are only 10 doubloons, which is basically free. Highly recommend picking these up. And with that, boys and brothers, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you found this helpful or learned something new, or I even made you chuckle a bit, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, as it does boost the algorithm and it shows me that you care, and I need that for my self-esteem. Without further ado, peace.